This is the feature-length debut by Carl Hunter, and it's not a bad first movie. But I think the influences are pretty strong here, mainly from Wes Anderson. I mean, it's nowhere near as quirky or as stylized, but it does look a bit stylized. Just the way it's directed with a lot of carefully framed shots, but also the art direction and the overall visual style of it. There are a lot of bright primary colors splashed throughout, and a lot of the sets do look carefully crafted and put together to look exactly the way they look. Almost like, a dollhouse or something. A little bit too clean and meticulous, with strong colors. So yeah, if this wasn't influenced by Wes Anderson, they do at least share sensibilities. And that's not to say I hated it, not at all, I actually kinda liked it. It takes a step back from realism and, it felt like a nice change of pace. But what about the story and the rest of it? Well, first of all, I think it achieved what it set out to do. It's sort of a charming and kinda funny movie, with this very dry sense of humor. About this old man and his adult son, and his family too. But I guess what's really at the center of the story here is the relationship between the two of them. The old man and his son, because it's a little bit strained. They get along well enough, but you can tell there's some serious friction there, stemming from something important that I'm not really gonna reveal here. But there's this issue that sort of brings the two of them together, that kind of forces them to spend time together despite the tension between them. And that thing is more or less the driving force behind the actual plot. The story also involves a certain board game in a very interesting and peculiar way, which I gotta say was a very creative plot device I haven't seen before. That also happens to be the source of a lot of the humor in this, which as I said is very dry and understated, but I liked it. It's my kind of humor. And I gotta say, Bill Nighy is the perfect delivery device for that kind of humor too. He's always great, and if you've seen any British movie ever, you'll probably recognize him. And he's great in this too, with his very deadpan delivery and these subtle little things he does. In fact, he's probably one of my favorite subtle comedians. It seems like he can almost make any scene funny by just his delivery alone, and the way he times his pauses and his expression changes ever so slightly. Or he just adds a perfectly timed little nod or something. He's a master at that, and he never comes across like he's trying to be funny either. So needless to say, he was one of the highlights of the movie. And without him, I don't think this movie would have really worked. And overall, I'm not entirely convinced by this one. I definitely enjoyed it to a certain extent. And the humor, the visual style and the acting were really good. There is also a certain amount of heart to it, and it left me with a smile on my face. But the overall plot, the thing that's supposed to drive the story, it's a little bit it didn't really do a whole lot for me, to be honest. I mean, it did work, it served its purpose and got the story where it needed to go. But I don't know, for some reason I just didn't care about it as much as I should have, I guess. And that did bring the overall experience down a notch. So as a whole, I would call this thing okay, kinda charming and sort of funny. But I didn't really get that much out of it beyond that. However, would I recommend it? If you like dry British humor, yes. This one's definitely worth checking out. If not, you can probably skip it. Or don't, because I'm not your dad. But I am trying to sell out, so consider liking, subbing, hitting that bell and supporting me on Patreon. Because I really need to get myself a couple of tailor-fitted suits. And hey, why not drop a comment below or check out another review? I'd appreciate it. Thanks.